She was a very dear friend of mine, so it's not something I'm able to talk about yet. I'm not able to talk about it.
Sarah Paulson was seen standing outside Diane Keaton's Los Angeles home, eyes red, visibly shaken, and holding back tears. Cameras caught the emotional moment, and now everyone's asking the same question. What happened between the two Hollywood icons? The scene wasn't for a movie, and it definitely wasn't staged. Witnesses describe it as deeply personal, a moment of heartbreak between two longtime friends. But behind those quiet tears lies a story of loyalty, loss, and something that might change how fans see their friendship forever. It was just another calm afternoon in Los Angeles until cameras began flashing outside a quiet home in Beverly Hills. That home belonged to none other than Diane Keaton, the beloved Hollywood legend known for her warmth, wit, and timeless charm. But what drew attention wasn't Diane herself. It was Sarah Paulson, her close friend and fellow actress, who appeared visibly emotional as she stood near the driveway, her eyes filled with tears. For years, Sarah Paulson and Diane Keaton have shared a deep and genuine friendship, one that fans have admired for its sincerity and humor. They met through mutual friends in the industry and quickly bonded over their shared love of art, film, and authenticity. In interviews, Sarah has often described Diane as one of the few people in Hollywood who truly understands her. And Diane, known for her quirky brilliance, has called Sarah one of the most honest and heartfelt people she knows. But on that particular day, things looked different. Witnesses say Sarah seemed distraught. She spoke briefly with someone at the gate, believed to be one of Diane's family members or staff, before stepping aside, clutching her phone, and wiping away tears. Within minutes, paparazzi photos began circulating online, sparking a storm of speculation. Was it personal news, a private loss, or a health scare involving Diane Keaton herself? Fans began searching for answers, with some fearing the worst. As the images spread, people noted how uncharacteristically vulnerable Sarah looked. Far from her usual composed public persona, she wasn't there for a red carpet moment or a casual visit. Something had clearly shaken her. In this video, we're unpacking everything we know so far about that emotional encounter, what insiders are saying, how the Hollywood community has quietly reacted, and why this moment between Sarah Paulson and Diane Keaton has touched so many hearts. Because this isn't just about two celebrities. It's about a rare and raw moment of human connection between two women who have always stood for honesty, friendship, and love in an industry that often hides both. Coming up next, the real story of how Sarah and Diane's friendship began and the emotional bond that makes this recent encounter so heartbreaking. To understand why that moment outside Diane Keaton's home was so emotional, you first need to know the kind of bond these two women share. One built on mutual admiration, respect, and an honesty rarely seen in Hollywood. Sarah Paulson, known for her fearless performances in American Horror Story and Ratched, has never shied away from vulnerability, both on and off screen. But behind her confidence and career success, she's always leaned on a small circle of trusted friends. One of the most influential among them has been Diane Keaton. Their friendship began nearly a decade ago during an industry dinner hosted by a mutual friend. Sarah later joked that she was fangirling internally when she first met the legendary star of Annie Hall, and something's got to give. But instead of the formal, distant dynamic many expect between Hollywood generations, their connection was immediate. Diane, with her eccentric humor and trademark hats, saw something genuine in Sarah. She once said in an interview, "Sarah doesn't pretend, she's honest to the bone, and that's rare." From that point on, their friendship blossomed. The two were spotted at events together, attending art exhibits, grabbing coffee in Los Feliz, and even exchanging handwritten notes, a lost art in modern Hollywood. For Sarah, Diane became a mentor and confidant. She admired how Keaton managed to stay grounded despite decades of fame and scrutiny. Diane in turn saw Sarah as a reflection of her younger self.
What you thought she was as a performer, she was even more spectacular as a human being. And I was the luckiest person in the world to have had her in my life the way that I did. So,
Unapologetically authentic, passionate, and slightly rebellious against Hollywood's expectations. Their friendship became even more meaningful after both women opened up about their personal struggles. Diane has spoken openly about aging in Hollywood and her choice to remain single, while Sarah has faced public criticism over her unconventional relationships and fearless individuality. Through it all, they defended and uplifted each other. In a world where fame often breeds distance, Sarah and Diane's bond reminded fans that true friendship, the kind built on honesty, laughter, and shared vulnerability, can still exist in the spotlight. That's why when Sarah was seen visibly emotional outside Diane's home, people instantly knew something deeper was going on. This wasn't a casual visit gone wrong or a paparazzi misunderstanding. The two women had weathered many storms together, so whatever caused Sarah's reaction had to be deeply personal. And as new information began to surface, it became clear this emotional moment wasn't random. Something had happened inside Diane's home that day that deeply shook Sarah. Behind the laughter and timeless charm, Diane Keaton has always been open about one thing. She's no stranger to loneliness. Despite her remarkable career, endless accolades, and a life filled with art, she's lived quietly and mostly alone in her Los Angeles home for years. While she's known for her quirky, lighthearted nature, those closest to her say that in recent months, Diane hasn't been herself. Friends of the actress revealed that Diane had been pulling back from public appearances, skipping a few social events and gatherings she'd normally attend. She's been very introspective lately, one insider shared. She's fine physically, but emotionally she's been reflective, thinking about aging, family, and legacy. Diane has spoken before about the challenges of growing older in Hollywood, but this time it seemed different. Some reports hinted that she had received personal news that deeply affected her, possibly related to her health or a close family member. Sources say Sarah Paulson, being one of the few people Diane fully trusts, immediately rushed to see her after hearing about it. Witnesses said Sarah arrived at Diane's house quietly without any entourage, camera crew, or publicity. She looked concerned. A neighbor told reporters she parked on the street and just walked up the driveway, like she'd done it 100 times before. Whatever conversation took place inside those walls was private, but those who know Sarah say she's someone who feels deeply. She's the kind of friend who doesn't just send flowers, she shows up. So when she walked back outside, visibly emotional, it wasn't surprising that the moment carried so much weight. Fans immediately began piecing together clues. Just days before the sighting, Diane had posted a reflective photo on Instagram, an old black and white shot of herself in her 20s captioned only, "Time, it changes everything." Many didn't think much of it then, but after Sarah's emotional visit, the post took on a new meaning. Online speculation grew quickly. Some fans feared a health crisis. Others wondered if the visit was connected to a family issue or a major life decision Diane had made in private. Still, the people who know her best insist that the moment was not about gossip or drama. It was about love, a real human connection between two people who have been there for each other when the cameras weren't rolling. Sarah has never commented publicly about that day, but those close to her say she was heartbroken and overwhelmed. One source told Entertainment Weekly, "Sarah's always admired Diane, not just as an actress, but as a person. Seeing her in a vulnerable place broke her heart. They're family in every way that matters. And as emotional as that moment was, it seems it may not have been the end of the story, but the beginning of something bigger." In the days following that emotional moment, Sarah Paulson seemed to disappear from public view. No press appearances, no red carpets, no social media updates, a rare silence from an actress who's normally active and engaged online. But behind that quietness was something deeply intentional. Friends close to both Sarah and Diane say that Sarah has taken on a deeply personal role, not as a co-star or a fan, but as a friend in full support mode. She's been checking in on Diane regularly. One insider revealed they've been talking on the phone, spending quiet evenings together, just being there. Sarah's not making a big show of it. She's doing what real friends do, showing up without being asked. For Sarah, this isn't about publicity, it's about gratitude. Diane Keaton has been a mentor to her for years, someone who reminded her to embrace authenticity in an industry obsessed with perfection. When Sarah received her Emmy for The People vs. O.J. Simpson, she later admitted that Diane had been one of the few people to call her personally just to say, "Don't lose yourself in all this noise." That kind of wisdom stayed with her. Now the roles have reversed. Sarah is the one offering steady presence and reassurance. Sources say she's been encouraging Diane to return to her art, reminding her how much joy and healing she finds in creativity. A few weeks after the emotional visit, Diane was seen at a small gallery event in Los Angeles. Not as the center of attention, but smiling again, surrounded by her photography work. Sarah, though not photographed, was reportedly there in the crowd, quietly supporting her from the sidelines. It's this kind of loyalty that makes Sarah and Diane's friendship so beloved by fans. They don't use each other for headlines. They protect each other from them. Sarah once said in an interview, "In this industry, real friendship is rare. Diane's one of the few who never expects you to perform. She just expects you to be yourself."
My picture when I first saw her, and that was unattractive.
Behind the scenes, Sarah has also found subtle ways to honor Diane. She recently shared a cryptic post on her Instagram story, a black background with the words, "Some bonds aren't built in Hollywood, they're built in truth." She didn't mention Diane by name, but fans immediately connected the dots. And according to one friend, that's exactly how Diane likes it. Diane's a private soul. She doesn't want sympathy or spectacle. What Sarah's doing, protecting her peace, honoring her privacy, that's love in action. As weeks passed, those close to the actresses said they've spent time walking through Diane's garden, revisiting old films, and simply talking about life. There's laughter again, the insider shared. Diane's smiling more, and Sarah's part of that healing process. Still, there's a quiet awareness that things have changed. Whatever was said during that emotional day outside Diane's home marked a turning point in their friendship, one that deepened it beyond Hollywood titles or celebrity circles. Coming up next, the lesson this moment teaches us about real friendship, loss, and why Sarah Paulson's emotional breakdown might be one of the most genuine things we've seen from a star in years. When the photos of Sarah Paulson standing outside Diane Keaton's home first surfaced, many fans focused on what happened. But as the days passed, a different kind of conversation began. One about why that moment mattered so much. In an industry built on image, it's rare to see raw emotion that isn't part of a performance. Yet Sarah's tearful expression wasn't rehearsed, edited, or filtered. It was real. That vulnerability, seen by millions across social media, reminded people that even the brightest stars carry deep feelings. Love deeply and hurt deeply too. For Sarah Paulson, that moment wasn't about embarrassment or paparazzi intrusion. It was about being human in a world that often forgets that celebrities are at the core people, with hearts that break and bonds that heal. And in Diane Keaton, she found a friend who taught her that authenticity isn't something to be hidden. It's something to be embraced. Fans online started sharing their own reflections using hashtags like #RealFriendship and Sarah and Diane, calling their relationship the friendship Hollywood needed to see. Many praised Sarah for showing genuine love and loyalty, rather than feeding into Hollywood's often shallow version of connection.
Is what she says. Or she says, "Hey, hi, hi. Hey, hi, dummy."
Others pointed out how refreshing it was to see two women in the spotlight supporting each other without competition or pretense. As one fan wrote, Sarah's tears weren't a weakness. They were a love letter. And they're right. The image of Sarah, visibly emotional yet composed enough to handle the moment with grace, captured something timeless: the beauty of compassion. Industry insiders have long noted that both women have resisted Hollywood's obsession with perfection. They are artists, thinkers, and human beings who value honesty above everything else. That's why this moment resonated. It wasn't about drama, it was about depth. Even those close to Sarah say the emotional moment outside Diane's home became a personal wake-up call for her, a reminder of what truly matters. "Sarah's been working nonstop for years," said one friend. That day forced her to slow down and remember that relationships, not accolades, are what last. Diane herself, in a later comment to a close confidant, reportedly said, "Sarah is one of the few people who doesn't run when things get quiet. She stays." That's the core of their friendship. Staying through tears, through uncertainty, through the moments when the cameras stop rolling and the world isn't watching. And perhaps that's why the public can't stop talking about it. Because for once, Hollywood gave us something real. Two women showing that fame fades, but kindness doesn't. In the weeks following that emotional day, both Sarah Paulson and Diane Keaton have retreated from the noise, but their silence has spoken volumes. Those close to them say the two women have been spending quiet time together, focusing on healing, reflection, and creative renewal. And in many ways, this difficult moment has deepened their bond even further. Sarah, ever the loyal friend, has made it her mission to be present, not for appearances, not for sympathy, but for genuine companionship. She checks in almost every day, a mutual friend revealed. Sometimes they talk about work. Sometimes they say nothing at all. It's that kind of friendship where words aren't always necessary. Diane, meanwhile, has been slowly re-emerging in small but meaningful ways. She was recently seen at a charity art event, smiling softly, surrounded by friends and admirers. One attendee mentioned that she looked peaceful, even joyful, and that Sarah had quietly helped her prepare for the evening. It was as if the weight that once clouded her had begun to lift.
And Pedro thinks it was to him. And,
Yeah, we'll just live with that
That's
story.
Industry insiders say this moment of vulnerability has reminded both women of what truly matters: connection, authenticity, and the people who stand with you when fame fades. One of Diane's longtime colleagues summed it up best. They've always shared laughter, but now they share something even more powerful: perspective. For Sarah, the experience has also reshaped how she approaches her own life and work. Friends say she's become even more grounded, choosing projects that speak to her heart rather than her resume. She's also spoken privately about valuing time away from the spotlight, something Diane has always encouraged her to do. Fame is temporary, Diane once told her, but relationships, real ones, outlast the spotlight. And it seems that message has stuck. Fans have noticed that both women have carried themselves differently since the incident: softer, quieter, but radiating a kind of peace that only comes after weathering a storm together. In a recent podcast appearance, Sarah didn't mention Diane by name, but when asked what friendship means to her, she simply said, "It's when you can show up without makeup, without a plan, without pretending, and the other person says, 'I'm here, don't worry.'" The world might never know exactly what happened that day outside Diane Keaton's home, and maybe that's how it should be. What matters is what it revealed: that even in an industry built on illusion, there are still moments of truth, tenderness, and grace. As one entertainment columnist beautifully wrote, "We've seen red carpets, scandals, and awards, but the image of Sarah Paulson crying for her friend will outlast them all, because it reminded us that being human is still the most powerful thing a celebrity can be." And perhaps that's the real story here. Not about heartbreak or mystery, but about two women who remind the world that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's love in its truest form.
And like, it was a personal, because we're friends, you guys. Like, no.
What?
Well, yeah.
You're friends with Cher.
Totally.
In a city that thrives on performance, Sarah Paulson and Diane Keaton gave the world something real: a friendship defined by grace, loyalty, and unspoken understanding. That tearful moment on a quiet Los Angeles street wasn't scandal or spectacle. It was a glimpse of what it means to care deeply without apology. Sarah's tears weren't about sadness alone. They were about gratitude, love, and the ache of seeing someone you admire face something hard. And Diane's response, quiet, steady, grounded, showed the kind of strength that doesn't need to be seen to be felt. So maybe this story isn't about Hollywood at all. Maybe it's about the rare kind of friendship that reminds us we all need someone who stands beside us when the cameras are gone. If this story moved you, take a moment to honor the people in your life who've shown up for you when it mattered most. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more powerful celebrity stories, and share your thoughts in the comments below, because real friendship deserves to be celebrated.